Episode 1. This is going to be done in one take, completely unedited, and giving you insights on how to become a high-performing dad, which sounds a bit grandiose, a bit pompous, but I've been putting this off, doing this solo podcast, and I haven't done one for about 5 years. And that's because we've had 3 kids in the last 5 years. So I've been putting it off because I'm thinking, I don't want to put myself out there on the internet without it being edited, because you're going to see warts and all, as they say. And I'm going to talk about things like having a vasectomy, which I did recently. And I never thought I would ever get one. I never thought I would say it in public, let alone to the world. Because I would imagine my daughters when they become teenagers, there's a video of your dad online talking about getting a vasectomy. But I know the life I want to live and the person, more importantly, I want to be. And the things I love in life and things I hate. I love YouTube. I love podcasts. So this is a YouTube podcast. I hate sales calls. I used to, because I'm an online coach, arrange calls with people and sell to them. And I've been on the receiving end of those calls, and I'm not doing it anymore. One, because as a dad, you can't schedule. It's very hard to schedule a half an hour Zoom call because your schedule's a bit up in the air, especially when the kids are a bit younger. And 2, no one likes being on sales calls. So to give you a peek behind the curtains, this is in part a way of you seeing what I am about and what I offer. And then you might think, this guy's all right, actually. I mean, of all the online coaches, he's probably the one I feel more of a kinship with. So I'll go with him. Right? That's to be honest with you. Now, as I mentioned about putting this off, I'm a perfectionist, and that's not a compliment. So I was waiting until I had the perfect night's sleep to start the podcast. I was waiting until all the tech setup was right. I guarantee you a few things. You will have the best audio quality. I've got a Rodecaster Pro, I've got a microphone that Joe Rogan uses, I've got filming in 4K. So it's great audio, great video, and hopefully the content matches that. Right? But some things we can't predict, but that means we don't go ahead anyway. For example, I turn on the camera here and I see I have 10% on my battery. So I'm going to go until the battery runs out. Now, I'd like you to draw a parallel between that and your resolution to get healthier. So I say to my clients, all right, if you can't exercise for half an hour, let's say you get to the gym late because you're in traffic and you've only got 10 minutes, can you do a 10-minute workout? 10-minute workout is better than a 0-minute workout. So that same principle I'm applying to this first episode. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough to make a change. So why dads get fat? That is the title of this first episode. The good news is it's not your fault. There's a physiological reason and a cultural reason. Now, before I go into that, it is important to recognize that the fix to this is simple, but it's not easy. So I will never, because what I used to do in my old podcast, I used to have sponsors at the start. I'm not doing sponsors anymore. I'm not selling shit, like supplements and all that kind of jazz. That stuff doesn't work. We, unfortunately, live in a world where it's just consumerism. I mean, Christmas has just happened. The amount of shit the kids have got, like, half of it. And you just give it to the second-hand shop, and it's just constant. So what happens with health is you think, I'm going to buy more stuff, like supplements or creams. And buying the stuff makes you feel like you've taken an action. A bit like when you buy the right gym gear or you pay for a gym membership, but then you never use it. The action is in the doing of the thing, not the stuff around it. So This podcast is not going to be perfect, but it's going to give you the meat of what you need. Physiologically, when you become a dad, your wife's hormones change, obviously. But so do yours. From an evolutionary point of view, when we're younger, we're more aggressive. Our testosterone is high. We're in the pursuit of greatness, whatever that looks like in our life. And subconsciously, that's because we're trying to be the most attractive we can be, have the most resources we possibly can, because we want to attract the best mate. Then when we have that mate, our goal is to procreate and have kids. So once we have that done, that drive, that aggression, and by the way, the term aggression, the Latin word is aggressio, which just means to take action. Right? There's a difference between aggression and violence. Aggression is good, violence is bad. But that goes away because we have moved, not even when the child is born, but when your missus is pregnant, your hormones change because you have to be more of a nurturer. You have to be someone that can take care of her and the baby that's about to come. So naturally, your testosterone goes down. And when that goes down, you combine that with the sleepless nights, that raises your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So our body goes into a state of survival. And that typically means holding on to excess fat. Plus, when we're really tired, because we're not getting the energy from the sleep, because we're not sleeping, we get the energy from the food, i.e. generally sugar. So this combination of our hormones changing and our diet changing makes us put on weight a lot easier. That's physiological reason. The cultural reason, and we can get a bit tinfoil hat here, but look at the most well-known cartoon dads. You've got Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin, and Daddy Pig. How much battery have I got left? It's gone up. Maybe it went from 10% to 17%. That's good. So this subconsciously tells us that dads are fat, lazy, and stupid. And these cartoons are being watched. I mean, they're designed for adults, the first two, but Peppa Pig is obviously designed for kids. And we don't let our kids watch Peppa Pig or Cocomelon. Now, caveat, if I'm changing our 18-month-old's nappy and he's flinging his legs everywhere, I'm going to stick on Cocomelon because it hypnotizes him. I'm going to get into hypnosis in a second. So there is a time and place for these things. But it sends a signal that a good dad is a bit of a doofus. They're clumsy. They almost become like another child that has to be mothered. And even we have a Peppa Pig book that we read sometimes to our kids for bedtime, because at bedtime you want to reduce any aggro that you can. And reading is better than watching TV. But in the Peppa Pig book, the dad is scared of heights. And the mum is there saying, oh, don't worry, like, come on. So they really emasculate the dad. And all these characters have one thing in common, apart from being fat, lazy, and stupid, is they're funny. Right? But we're laughing at them, not with them. So it's impossible for that not to get into our psyche. And then when we become a dad, we say things like the dadbod. Like, that's to be expected. And if anything, it's a badge of honor to say, like, oh yeah, I'm not selfish. I don't go to the gym. I spend that time with my kids or working. But I challenge you and say that not going to the gym is selfish, because you end up coming home from work, you're knackered, you're too tired to play with the kids, to read them a bedtime story. You find that you're just scrolling on your phone because you're not able to put the energy into the family after hours. But that's because you're not exercising probably during the day and not eating the right things, right? So it seems selfish going to the gym. I know, because I got, like, if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a custom-made gym in my garden. Me and my dad built this. I say me and my dad built this, but I helped him carry stuff. And it has everything in here. And I still, every single day, negotiate with my wife, say, can I go outside for 30 minutes to exercise? Or can I go for 30 minutes for a run? I only ever do 30 minutes maximum. Because when the kids are screaming, nappies need changing, they need to get their socks put on, or there's things they need dealt with, you feel bad saying, like, I'm just going to go outside and do something that seems selfish. But it's really not. So how do we battle this? What's the fix? Because that's really what you're looking for. We all want the easy fix, right? Now, this fix is simple, but it's not easy. So the first thing, culturally speaking, that you need to do is change your information diet. As I mentioned, we don't let the kids watch Peppa Pig, so we don't watch Peppa Pig. But I don't watch the news or listen to the news. I don't know who's shagging who's died, what Andrew Tate has done or Donald Trump has done. I don't know about any of that stuff. And I hear people say, oh, the media tried to emasculate men, this, that, and the other. And I know I've alluded to that, but I don't put that information in my head every day. Because your thoughts become your life. So what you put into your head matters. So every morning I hypnotize myself. And I do this in a very simple way. Instead of getting up, and I get up whenever the first kid gets up, normally it's like 4 a.m. with our 18-month-old at the moment. So I'm awake at 4 a.m., right? Put his dummy in, maybe give him a bottle. And then I've got some time in my hands, so I normally exercise then. But in between the time of exercising, I might have a cup of coffee, while I'm waiting to wake up. I don't scroll and look at the news, because that creates unnecessary anxiety about things I cannot change. Instead, I go onto YouTube and I type in motivational speeches or workout motivation or the 20 greatest speeches ever. And you will get these montages that will give you insights, and they subliminally feed you messages that you need to hear in order for you to overcome your negative thinking. And you can do this as well if you find these things a bit cheesy, which they can be. Audiobooks. Audiobooks are a great resource for dads, because often it can be, we don't have the time to read. We don't have the time to, we want to enjoy a book, but we want to do it while we're having a walk, for example. So you can do that while you're working out. If you're first listening to music, that's fine as well. But I'm saying, if you find that you're consuming news, I would like you to ask yourself, how is this helping me? Now, if you see it as entertainment, that's different. Because at the end of every day, me and my wife, when we've put our 3 kids to bed, and it can be a challenge, especially with bunk beds and they're messing with each other, we don't have time. We're kind of tired when it gets to like 8 p.m. that for the last hour of the day we put on Netflix, and that's our entertainment. That's our escapism. So if the news is your escape, that's fine, but treat it that way, as entertainment. It's not there to help you. It's a distraction. So hypnotize yourself every morning. Either read something that helps you, or listen to something that helps you, or watch something that you find inspiring. Now, physiologically, how we can combat this dadbod, or this inclination to get fat, is not by focusing on goals. You see, when you say to yourself, I'm going to achieve a certain weight by March this year, or before I go on holiday this year, I'm going to be X amount of weight. That's foolish. What you should do instead is ask yourself, what type of person do I have to be in order for me to make that progression towards that target weight? What inputs do I need to do every day, every week, every month in order for me to achieve that goal? So the goal isn't the number. The goal is the type of person you want to be. And the byproduct is you will lose weight, look fitter, be stronger. For example, instead of saying I want to lose X amount of weight per week or per month, say I want to do 3 workouts a week for 30 minutes. I want to do strength training. That means lifting weights, either whether it be external weights like dumbbells, kettlebells, or that weight being your own body weight. And I want to do that until I cannot do it anymore. So if you find that during the gym session, you're able to doss around, look at your phone, you're getting slightly bored, you're not doing it intensely enough. So that's just one metric you can measure. How many times you go to the gym, how long you go for, and how much intensity you give into the gym. So physiologically, what this will do is it will move you from being that lethargic, soft, sleepy, dad bod guy who's going lower and lower in testosterone as the weeks and months go by, to someone who is structured, has something to get up for in the morning that isn't just the kids, and approaches their workouts like it's a life or death situation. Because physiologically, that will change you. When you enter that fight or flight, your body, your hormones will respond. Because we're talking about testosterone and cortisol here. These are hormones. These are living in a constant state of ambient anxiety. I'm really tired. I'm drinking coffee. I'm at the computer screen all the time. You go from that to waking up, listening or watching or reading something motivational, inspiring, to going into the gym and being like an animal for half an hour. Working out like your life depends on it, because it does. That's the simple but not easy fix. Because it is not easy to put yourself in really uncomfortable situations. Like I am here. I'm in the flow now, but I felt uncomfortable, and now I'm feeling okay doing this, right? And you'll feel the same about going to the gym. Like I remember before I started going to the gym, like 10 years ago. I've been doing this for 10 years now. I'll give you the backstory. I was made redundant 10 years ago. I was a COO of an AI company. Great company, great bunch of lads, great CEO, who I really admire and like to this day. But I had done all I could do with the company, and they didn't need me anymore. So they made me redundant. And at that time, I felt very lost. I put on a lot of weight, and I remember so clearly my dad sat me down and he said, he fat shamed me. He said, look, you've let yourself go. You need to address this. And it really hurt my feelings. So when I started going to the gym, I felt so uncomfortable. Because I remember going before that when I was in my early 20s, like trying out the gym. I remember thinking, my arms are too skinny. I used to go in my Arsenal jersey. And I'd go out into the gym floor and look around at all the big guys and be like, oh, I feel embarrassing going over to the bench press and like they'd finished their set and then I'm taking all the weights off and just doing the bar. Right. So I thought, I'm too skinny to do this. Right. And then the next time I went back to the gym 10 years later, I felt, I was too fat. You're always going to feel uncomfortable. And then when you get into the gym and you finally feel comfortable, you work out in a very pedestrian way, Most people do, right? And partly it's because they don't know what they should be doing, or you don't know what you should be doing. And therefore, you don't want to push it too hard in case you injure yourself. You're not sure about form, about tempo. Okay, there's so many things to factor in, and that's fair enough. That's why you don't necessarily need a coach, but if you're going to, I shouldn't be saying that, should I? It depends what you want to do. Like if you just want to do some push-ups and some lunges and squats, you probably could do that on your own, right? But that's not enough. That's a good start. When you want to progress, your body wants variety. It craves variety. This is why so many lads, as they get older, they get injured so easily because they're doing the same stuff over and over again. Push-ups, squats, run a 5K. You need to add variety and progression to your workouts. But sitting underneath all of that is intensity. When it's intense, that's when you see adaptation and change. Because change is inevitable. Father Time is a bastard. And as the years go by, you're either going to get weaker if you do the same thing, or not, worse if you do nothing, or stronger if you keep adding progression, adding variables so that your body adapts. And that's the main thing that, as a dad, you have to apply. So, let's recap. What are we doing for time here? 20 minutes. You know, the average commuter time, well, in the UK anyway, probably the same where I live here in Ireland, is 20 to 25 minutes. So, this is good. And my battery's at 10% still. So, in a recap, dads get fat. You're getting fat if you are fat because your hormones have changed. Because you've been looking after your wife and you're working to look after your resources. And culturally, we're conditioned to think that the dadbod is to be expected. And to be fit is to be selfish. So hypnotize yourself, whether it's listening to this podcast or whether it's consuming the right information, and make sure you apply intensity to your workouts. Now, I'm getting a sign here that the battery's about to die, so I'm going to leave it there. Last thing to say is I have designed a quiz that will help you to pinpoint where in your life there's a bottleneck, what's holding you back. Because you'll watch this far for a reason. So if you find me on Instagram or check the link below and DM me the word quiz, it's 2 minutes, I'll send it straight over to you. No need to hop on a sales call, ever. All right, episode 1 done. Yes. That's it. Thanks.